I want to take a minute to tell you about the Stanley number 81 cabinet scraper. Amidst the scrapers that I have, a 20, an 80, and an 81. The 81 is unique in that it's nickel plated and it has a rosewood bottom, and I will explain a little bit more about it here in just a moment. Like most cabinet scrapers, the important part is how do you get the burr on the blade. And most cabinet scrapers, the blade is beveled at 45 degrees. And because it's beveled to a point, when you use your burnisher on it, it's very easy to form the burr. And here I've just got an exaggerated illustration here, but as you run the burnisher over it, you end up pulling that metal into a hook and you get a very nice burr. A normal cabinet scraper has a square edge and they're much harder to get a burr on because you're basically kind of deforming the edge of the metal, getting two burrs. But back to the cabinet scraper, we use a 45-degree bevel on the blade. So here's the Stanley 81. I'll pull the blade out of it. You can see this one I have is actually it got an original blade, which is kind of rare. You can see the Stanley logo on the blade. And you'll see that both edges of the blade are beveled at 45 degrees. I do that just on a sharpening stone to get a 45-degree bevel. And then again, like I showed in the illustration, it's very easy to pull a burr off of that pointed edge of that 45-degree bevel. So you put the blade in the scraper on the downhill side, so to speak, just as you would use a card scraper, and then tighten it into the scraper body. Now, because you don't have a tensioning thumb screw like you do on a Stanley 80, you have to press this bottom of this plane against your wood and then press down on the blade a little bit and tighten the blade in. And what you're trying to do is just barely engage the blade with the wood surface. Again, the Stanley 80, because you have that adjusting knob that puts a slight concave shape in the blade, you get adjustments that way. With this plane, the number 81, you set the plane on the work surface, press the blade against the wood, and what most people do would be to slide a piece of paper under the plane and then tighten down the blade so that the burr and the blade are sticking out, so to speak, the distance of the thickness of a piece of paper. But you can see that that process works very, very well. You're seeing the shavings that I'm getting off of this piece of wood with that setting, just using a simple piece of paper as your measurement. You get great shavings. And again, I'm pretty much convinced that the rosewood bottom, especially with a nice coat of paste wax on it, causes the plane to just glide over the surface. You can use this plane either way, pushing or pulling. I like pushing it better because it just sort of reminds me of a cabinet scraper where you're holding the handles and pressing your thumbs against the base of the blade. So that's it, the Stanley number 81. It produces great shavings. It's a very, very nice looking plane in that it's nickel plated. It's got great casting. Again, this one even has an original blade, and it's become a very useful part of my collection and also a very useful scraper plane. Thank you for watching, and you can see my other videos on the Stanley number 80 and the Stanley number 12. Thanks again for watching.